Upadesa Saram, Essence of Teachings, offered by Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. Verses 16 to 20. Drishyavaritam chittamatmana chittva-darshanam tattva-darshanam. When the mind wards off the visible world and is withdrawn into the self and has the vision of its own effulgent form, that is the vision of true knowledge of the self. Explanation for this verse is as follows. Here, Ramana Maharshi not only explains what true knowledge is, but he also gives guidance about how to gain that knowledge. The first and foremost thing to be done for one to have the vision of one's own real self is to withdraw the mind from the visible world, that is, the people and the objects that are seen through the sense objects. Unless we consciously practice to ward off or turn the mind away from people, things, and events, we cannot succeed in turning the mind within. This is called vairagya, dispassion, or intelligent detachment from worldly objects, people, and happenings. But vairagya, living with dispassion alone, is not enough. Practice is necessary too. In this regard, Maharishi says to someone as follows: Abhyasa, practice, and vairagya, dispassion, are both necessary. Vairagya, dispassion, is the absence of diffused thoughts. Abhyasa, practice, is concentration on one thought only. Accordingly, when one gives up the sense objects and turns the mind within and concentrates on a single point, one then withdraws into the self and has the vision of one's own effulgent form. And Ramana Maharshi says that such vision alone is true knowledge of the self. Manasam tu kim margane krite naiva manasam marga arjavat. What is the mind? Thus, if the mind takes the path of unceasingly scrutinizing its own nature, it will be found that there is no such thing as mind. This is the direct, straight path for everyone. Explanation for this verse is as follows. This is actually the primary and classic teaching of Ramana Maharshi. It is self-enquiry. It can be trusted and followed by everyone because it is not just a philosophy but a practical process that has been proven by his own experience of abidance in the Supreme Self. Many visitors asked Maharishi about how to get rid of the mind. In this verse, Maharishi teaches about how to achieve that. He says, scrutinize constantly within as to what the mind is. Unceasingly ponder over the nature of the mind. Enquire within, what is this mind? Then it will be found that mind is nothing but a bundle of thoughts. These thoughts were not there in deep sleep. They are present sometimes and not present at other times. That means they are transitory and therefore they are not real. And by the practice of self-enquiry taught by Maharishi, if we get rid of the thoughts, then where is the mind? There cannot be a mind without thoughts. Thus, it will be found that there is no such thing as mind. Besides this teaching, Maharishi also proclaims that this is the direct, straight path for everyone eager to realize one's own real self. One can wander all over among various scriptures, waste time in diversions, and get bogged down in rituals and routine worships, but the direct, straight path is the path prescribed by Maharishi in this verse. Vrittayastvaham vrittimashrita vrittayo mano vidyaham mana. The mind is merely thoughts, and of all the thoughts, the thought I is the root thought. Therefore, the mind in truth is only the thought I. Explanation for this verse is as follows. In the previous verse, Maharishi advises a seeker to unceasingly, constantly inquire within about what the mind is. In doing so, one will find that the mind is nothing but a bundle of thoughts. And when the thoughts are gone, there can be no such thing as mind. In this verse, Maharishi gives a little bit more detail about this. He says, even though the mind is merely thoughts, all these thoughts spring forth from a root thought, and that root thought is the thought I. If the I thought vanishes, there can be no thoughts at all, and without thoughts, there can be no mind. Therefore, the mind is only the I thought. Ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvata aipatatyaham nija vicharanam. From where does this I arise? Seek this within. The I will then sink and fall down. This is the true quest of wisdom. Explanation for this verse is as follows. Once again, this is the original, classic, unique teaching of Ramana Maharshi. It is self-enquiry in the form of Who am I? In the previous verse, Maharishi specified that the root of all thoughts is the I thought. Here he says, inquire within with the question, from where does this I thought arise? The problem is, most people practice this once or twice and immediately expect to know the real self from which they have wandered miles and miles away, so to speak, for how many rebirths God only knows. But the fact is, in order to remove the spell of the ego that has been cast on oneself and to end the illusion and imaginations created by the false I, that is parading as the real I, the practice also must be enduring, constant, and steady. And the practice is given by Maharishi in this verse. He says, seek within with a vigilant mind. If this is done with concentrated self-enquiry, the I, which is actually the I thought, will sink and vanish. This quest of self-enquiry is indeed the true quest of wisdom. Ahami nashabha jahamahantaya spurati hritsvayam parama purna sat. where the false I has become extinct, there now shines an I consciousness by itself. This is the infinite, perfect, real self. Explanation for this verse is as follows. In the previous verse, Maharishi offered the teaching about how to perform self-enquiry in the form of Who am I? He said, if this is practiced steadily, the I thought will sink and vanish. Here he explains what happens when the false I becomes crestfallen, sinks, and vanishes. He says that when the I thought vanishes, automatically there shines an I consciousness all by itself. This is the infinite, perfect, real self. Realizing this perfect, peaceful, eternal, blissful state should be the goal of every genuine spiritual seeker of lasting happiness and immortality.